Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of Drinks with Johnny. Today, man, this is a big day for me. This is really cool. As you guys know, I'm a huge wrestling fan, huge music fan. And as some of you know who've been following closely, I've actually talked about this guest a few times. And the first time I got a chance to meet him, and how I kind of screwed that up a little bit. And we'll get into that. But definitely very exciting day for me. This might be like the biggest day. I mean, I've had a bunch of Hall of Famers on here, a lot of wrestlers, and it's been awesome. I think it's all been a culmination to lead up to today's guest. I'm super excited to have him on. Man, I'll just give him the best introduction I can here today. He is the relentless, positively unstoppable, two-time WCW heavyweight world champion. And I lost the plot there, but damn it, it is so good to have Diamond Dallas Page on the Drinks with Johnny podcast today. How you doing, brother?
Johnny, I'm doing great. Just got done with the killer power. I do DDP. What I do when I work out is I call it DDP's gauntlet. And I've had different friends of mine come over, and eventually I'll be releasing. It's a podcast, but it's not. It's kind of like a podcast mixed with a series of workouts that I do, where I start off in the cold plunge, anywhere between 39 and 42 degrees. And then I get right out of that and get on the bike, or actually I'll be walking backwards for 10 minutes with a hypoxia mask on, which is it'll bring me anywhere from 6 to 8 percent oxygen. Like right now we're breathing 20 to 21%. And I'll be walking backwards on an incline, the highest incline you can go, for 10 minutes. Then I go on the bike, and I do sprints where I flick it from 6 to 8% oxygen to 50 to 60% oxygen. And man, that oxygen, fills you, it heals you at a cellular level. But the biggest thing I've noticed completely is my memory, because I've had a few concussions, but my memory, you forget a name here and there, but overall, man, my memory is so much better than it was a year ago. And then I'll get on the mat, DDPY, and then 4 days a week I'll get on the weights, and I'll do a power cup workout, end on the mat, and then I'll do what Spider-Man, where I'll get in this yoga swing and hang upside down on my hips. And man, I'm going to 6 months from 69. I always embrace the next year. Ever since I was 49, when people said, DP, how old are you anyway? I said, 12 months from 50. And they went, you're 50? Get the fuck out of here. I go, I didn't say 50. I said 12 months from 50. So I always embrace the next year. So it's never a thing to me. If anything, it's a positive.
Right. That is one of the things that everybody says about you after meeting you, knowing you, seeing you anywhere, is you're positive, man. You're always positive, and it's
well, not always.
Well, I'm sure.
Not always. Sure. But as a whole, there's actually a science behind it now. Like there's a science really behind just about everything, false and real. And the real science behind a positive attitude, they call it hope molecules. Like, if you keep telling yourself why you can't do something, or how much this day sucks, or week sucks, or my life sucks, it's just going to continue to suck. Yeah. But until you start to, manifest a different destination, you're going to be stuck in fucking life sucks. Maybe for you, not for me. And again, I'm 6 months from 69. And at this moment, I'm living my best life with my best partner, doing what I love to do. I'm still involved with wrestling, but I'm not. What I am, but I'm not. That's how I like it. I'm opening up. It'll open in 2025. My wife and I will be moved in there November of this year, and it's called Page's Retreat. And it will be a place that people can come to, instead of where I go to Mexico and 80 to 120 people come to the retreat, and I spend 6 days with them, and I can only spend fragmented time periods with each person. But this will be like the most people will ever be, that actually will be staying at Page's Retreat, which is this beautiful 8,400 square feet boutique hotel on the Gulf in Panama City Beach. It's going to be unbelievably beautiful. Like when you walk up to the second floor from downstairs, because downstairs I built my place all concrete, so I've over engineered this. My builder, my architect and me, we over engineered it to the max. So that, not saying that Mother Nature can't just take it away, because Mother Nature can. The bottom line is it's going to be like you come up to the second floor and there's two rooms. One is where the DDP yoga room is, but it'll also be a place for kids to hang when they rent the place for a summer rental. Because I'll only do retreats in the spring and fall, because that's the best times to be at the beach, especially at Panama City Beach. Summer's way too hot and the winter's too cold. As far as for what I want to do, because we're going to be out. I've got so many porches on this thing, but one huge one is you walk up the floor and you see on the DDP yoga room and the area where the kitchen is and the living area, there on each side, there are 4 9-foot by 4-foot glass doors. So when you walk up, you're literally looking right at the ocean. There's nothing to obstruct your view. And then they go open up. So now like 24 feet. Oh yeah, exactly. And it's all like the highest end, bulletproof glass that you could have, for storms. So like I said, I've over engineered it, and I'm really looking forward to getting people where there'll be like 14 people there. And then we can really get it won't just be DDP yoga, it'll be power cups, it'll be breathing. It's got steam rooms and saunas and cold plunge and hot tubs. I mean, it's a wellness center is what it is.
Dude, that sounds amazing. I know about you having your, you have the performance center right out there near you in Georgia.
Right.
I was prepared to come on here and tell you, after doing the program for a month, I'm hooked. I love DDPY. It's absolutely incredible. I want to get a little deeper into that, but I was fully prepared to tell you I want to come out to Georgia and go to the performance center you got out there. But now you're telling me about this retreat coming in 2025. I got to go to both now.
Well, you know what we'll do? We will bring you in for a podcast, and we'll do, because it isn't just wrestlers. It's wrestlers. It's, the guy who's the president of the NFL alumni. It's actors. It's musicians that will come in and do the gauntlet. And it's like, it's going to be really cool on the beach. We'll start in January probably, because what I'm going to do, I have this gorgeous porch. I mean, it's huge. I can do classes out there with probably 40 people.
Oh, damn.
I won't have that many because, parking, it's still, beach parking. But, the bottom line is, I'm going to do my interview out, and if someone wants to have some cocktails, they can, like literally on the porch, because you really can't really enjoy the beach until it's just about in sunset. So there'll be sunset interviews, right?
Ooh.
With the beach behind you. And you'll have a few cocktails, and then, we'll do the first part of it. And then the next day, we'll do the gauntlet. We'll film all that too. And then at night, we'll come back and we'll talk about it. So it'll be interlaced spots from, the original interview, just finding what people are doing, where they're at, and then we talk about the cold plunge, and then we go to that, and then we'll come back at night where we're talking about, so what was your thoughts on that shit? And talk about it, and we'll have, how I'm going to do it. It took me, I've done about 15 of them, but I haven't put any of them out because I know they can be better. So I'm just putting them together in little piecework right now with my team. And, now I have the outline of what I want to do. And so moving forward, I'll do that here in Atlanta, here and there between now and, when I leave. And then I won't do anything when we get in there for November and December. We're traveling a lot anyway. And then, in January, I'm going to come back with a couple guys. So you might be on that list, Johnny. So we'll just keep talking and see what we can do.
Dude, I love that idea. Like, seriously. Yeah, you've reinvented yourself many times in the entertainment industry, and we've seen it, and you've done so many great things, and we'll try and cover as much of that as we can with the time you got today. But I do love this idea. This is a great podcast idea you have there, and the fact that you're getting it lined up and everything before is something smart that I should have done with this very podcast. I just went straight off. I originally made it about drinking with my buddies. I don't even drink anymore. Since the last time I saw you, we'll get into when the last time I saw you. I don't even drink anymore. In March, I quit drinking. But
no, dude, that's a great thing. Like I come from running nightclubs and shit, and getting people to drink excessively, to getting Jake to stay sober, and Scott and Bagwell, and I still cocktail, but just slightly. I'll have a bottle of wine, or or I'll make it. I love the buzz I get from like a good tequila, like a Don Julio,
nice,
and fresh squeezed grapefruit and lime, and I never get hungover from it. And what I love the most, I got a good buzz going, then I just slow down, and then I don't drink anymore, and the buzz lasts, and then the buzz is gone, and I'm sober. I haven't gone to bed yet. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go to bed, with it like I did back in the old days.
Well, you're. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that you can do that, right? Not everybody can do that. That was my problem.
No, you're right.
Is that I wasn't able to do that, and so it just, it wasn't some crazy story, bottom of the gutter story for me. I just realized it was affecting my relationships in a negative way, and I just didn't need it anymore. So I got rid of it, and I'm very happy. But I love people drinking, though. I love all my friends drinking around me. I love making cocktails for people. Still love it.
That's insane. Jake drinks with Johnny. So
yeah, man. But
all right, so where do you want to go, Bo?
Wine. Yeah, so let's stay on the alcohol real quick, and then I want to move to a little bit of our story of how you and I met. Real quick on the alcohol, though, that you mentioned, you said wine and tequila seem to be your things. What's a bottle that you go to for wine? I know you mentioned Don Julio. I assume you're talking 1942.
I anything that's Don Julio, whether it's Reposado or Blanco, I love. It's clean, and that's the thing about tequila. It's the cleanest booze that you can drink. Absolutely. And I'm all about putting as real shit in my body as possible.
Oh, yeah.
As far as wine, I have some favorites, but they're obscure, and they're, you gotta find them. Like I went to a buddy's of mine house for 4th of July, and we're both from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And, his name is Scott Boggio. And we've been best friends since his brother and I were best friends all through high school. And when he was a freshman, his group of guys could hang with the seniors because they were cool. And Scotty would go on to play for University of Penn, Ivy Leaguer, top guy in his class. And one of probably the most successful guys I know, besides my buddy Peter Cancro, who's from Point Pleasant as well, who is the CEO of Jersey Mike Subs. So nobody's more successful than Peter.
Jersey Mike's everywhere, man. Jersey Mike's is everywhere.
Dude, I grew up on Jersey Mike's, and without question, when I would, what is this shit Subway? I don't mean to brag on it, but those subs stuck next to a Jersey Mike Subs.
Right.
And it used to be, I tell you how ahead of the curve my buddy Peter was. And I want to say he was 21 or 22 when he bought this place called Mike Subs. And he knew this, he had some really good mentors in business when he was younger, straight up on through. And he's a hard worker and a great athlete. And he paid, and I don't remember, I can't remember, it's, as legend has it, he paid $100,000 for the place, for the store, and the name and everything. I mean, people came from all over to get Mike's Subs. There's a line out the door, in the 70s, I grew up on those subs. And he bought it, which would seem like a ridiculous. Why wouldn't you just start your own? But he knew the value of Mike's. And then for years, we were seeing franchises like, when is Peter gonna do something with Mike's? But what he was doing was building blocks. Now they're turning more stores over and growing. They're one of the fastest growing, restaurants on the planet. And it's so easy. And what killed me is I'm gluten free. And that was the last thing I had that wasn't gluten free. My brother would always bring me, I can't remember what number it is, but it was like ham, cheese, capicola, turkey, and roast beef, extra meat, and the grass. And the way they put the olive vinegar on it was so good. And what I would do, when I got it, I threw the bottom away. I ate it like a pizza, right, when he picked me up at the airport. And I was like, because I hadn't eaten, wheat or gluten in probably a year or so at that time. I just come in from LA. I said, screw it. Let's go to Vesuvio's too and get the pizza. So, of course, I went and did that, bro. I was sick for 3 days because my body just says, fuck you when it comes to gluten anymore. And I feel like unbelievable without it. Put it in me bad. So it killed me not to eat my subs. And finally, they added gluten-free subs. And I was shocked how good they were. I was shocked. And I'm actually going to go do a speaking gig for Peter. I think it's next year sometime. But I'm just so proud of him. And that's the guys him and my buddy Scotty Mojo. That are the guys I don't hang out with Peter, but so proud of him. Local boy does big time good.
Yeah, I mean, that's massive. I had no idea you had that friendship in your back pocket there. That's incredible. And again, I'm glad. So he was the one that showed you to the bottles of wine that are hard to find.
No, that was right? Kimbo. That was Scotty, my buddy Scotty Mojo.
Scotty. But
the wine that we had. You know what? I'll tell you exactly what it is. And we're gonna walk up there.
I love it.
And we're gonna pull out of the wine cooler. When I tell you, I'm not really a white wine drinker. I like reds, but it's summer and what the hell? I'll try it. He goes, bro, this may be the best white wine you've ever tasted. And I said, okay, give me some. The bottom line was, when I tried it, it was by far the best white wine I have ever had. And it's AU, can you see that? AU,
yeah.
BERT. And this is their Sonoma Coast Chardonnay, 2022. It was so unbelievable. And you can't get it. Like, you got to be like on their mailing list and be a part of their wine club. And so, but one of our buddies was, and he ended up, getting us an extra case. And then me and my buddy Scotty split it. And I was ready to pay $200 plus for a bottle of wine, which I never would do. But that shit was so good. I was like, all right, I'm in. And we ended up getting it for like $115 a bottle or something like that.
Nice.
And I never thought I would ever spend money like that on a bottle, but it was that good, it was that good.
Man, well, there's some great bottles. I was a wine connoisseur when I was drinking. I mean, I'm saying it like it was that long ago. I just quit drinking in March, but I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on wine. There was, the Chardonnays there that you're, that's a good one. Cake bread.
I've had cake bread.
They had a bottle. It was the 2010. And when I found it, or 2009 actually, when we found it in Napa, I got married there back in 2014. But when we first went out there, I found that bottle of Chardonnay from Cake Bread, and it was the best white wine I had ever had. So similar area, Napa, Sonoma, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Fucking great wine, man. We could continue to talk about wine and alcohol, I'm sure. Let's save that for another time, like when you and I are maybe on that porch, we're in person having some conversations like that. I want to bring the audience into just how you and I are even on this conversation together and how it all started. So some people who know the podcast and listened, I have shared the story, namely when I had your good friend Eric Bischoff on the podcast, one of my early
Yes.
guests. And he was on, and we were just shooting it, and I was super green on this. I could go back and listen, pick apart how I did. It was terrible, but it was fun. Eric was a great guy, super awesome, and an honor to have on my show.
Just out of curiosity, how the hell did you get a hold of Eric?
Dude,
he doesn't do a lot of podcasts.
I know. I did not expect it. Two of your friends, I did not. Jake the Snake, obviously, on the show, amazing. Both of them were basically cold calls, and I don't know how. So the producer of this show, Sam Hawkins, is a friend of mine. I had the idea to start this show, as I said, kind of just around drinking and having people here at my bar. And then he was like, "Hey, that's a really good idea. I think I could help you out by getting guests." And I was like, "This guy's a contractor here in Southern California, works for Edison." And I was like, "How are you going to get all these entertainers?" Like, "Oh, Jake's going to be in town next month. Let me see if I could get him on." I was like, "Sure, you get him on. You could work for me." He gets Jake on. He gets a call, and he's like, "Hey, so Jake's down to do the show. He's going to be in Huntington doing his spoken word." So he comes through. We go check out spoken word. Have Jake on. It was like my second interview of all time doing this podcast, dude.
Oh my God!
And I'm looking at Jake the Snake, who I grew up. I had a wrestling buddy of this guy, and I'm fucking my second interview ever is with Jake the Snake Roberts. I don't know how that happened, but
That's
flash forward,
crazy.
Yeah, dude. It was, and he was awesome. And moving forward, so then he does the same thing with Eric. He finds an emails Eric. Somehow Eric responds and says, "Yeah, he's down." I get him on the phone. Again, I'm just starting this thing, dude. I'm like,
how long ago was that?
2019. It was right before the world shut down.
Oh, like 5 years ago. Yeah. Right before Armageddon.
Yes. It was literally right before. And we did it over Skype at the time. Zoom wasn't the big thing. Riverside that we're using now wasn't really a big thing yet. So we're doing it over Skype, and I'm talking to him. I mentioned a story of meeting Hulk Hogan in Vegas and sitting at his table. Well, we were told we were sharing the table with him, but I don't think anyone told him we were sharing the table with him. So there was that story, and he was like, "Oh, Hulk would probably not even care," or he was going through his divorce at that time, so I'm sure that'd be good. And I brought you up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll tell the story here again right now." DDP. Huge fan of yours, man. I have grown up watching WCW since I was probably about 5 years old. The first wrestling I ever saw was 3 months old, to see Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy in a cage at WrestleMania 2. Big steeped in wrestling here, man. So then flash forward, it's 2006, and my band has the biggest break of our career with our album City of Evil and Backcountry. We get invited to the Fuse Fangoria Awards, which combines some of my favorite things, music and horror. And I'm stoked. Terry Crews is hosting. I get the chance to meet Robert England at the bar. He tells some funny stories, and I feel like I'm sitting there with Freddy fucking Cougar. It's an amazing night.
You were.
Yeah, dude. It was amazing, right? So then I look over, and my boy Matt, who's also a wrestling fan, is talking to somebody. I'm like, "Who's this big motherfucker he's talking to?" And I look, and I go, "Oh shit, that's DDP." And I walk over and introduce myself. But you're already talking to Matt, and we start shooting the shit. And you were kind enough to invite us to the premiere of your movie that was coming out like the following month, Driftwood. And you had the premiere at the Roman Chinese Theater. So we went out there. We're hanging. We got this budding friendship. I'm like, this is awesome. I never thought this. I'm 22 years old, Dallas, at the time. 22 years old, meeting a hero. I've got the world. I mean, I've just been on MTV for the first time in my life. Everything's just going crazy.
You're living the dream, brother.
Living the dream. And then one of the times, me and you were emailing back and forth. We have, towards the end of that cycle, we have our first concert that we're going to film ever. We're going to do a live DVD from Long Beach Arena. And I don't remember how you heard about it, but you were like, "Hey, I got a friend who wants to go to the show. You and Ema, can you hook her up?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And we talked on the phone. Again, I'm a 22-year-old kid with roommates. I'm sitting in this shitty little kitchen in this apartment that we're staying in, on the phone with Diamond Dallas Page, shitting my pants, going, I don't know what the fuck's going on. This is amazing. He wants me to take care of his friend. Okay, I'll take care of his friend. Flash forward. it's hectic. We're filming a DVD. I didn't get a chance to say hi to your friend. I emailed you afterward, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I never got a chance to say how was it for her, and I don't remember if I got a response. So all these years later go by. I've crossed paths with people that know you. You know, our circles are starting to get closer and closer and closer. And then this past year, March, we're out together in Greensboro to see Sting's final match as a wrestler. And I look over, and here comes this big guy again, right over my shoulder. And I look up, and there you are, Diamond Dallas Page again. And he says, "Hey, Johnny, yeah, I remember you. And then you say, yeah, give me a call real quick. Call this number." And I call your number, right? I didn't have this number, so I call it. And you show me on your cell phone, Johnny Christ, at the caller ID. You still had my number from fucking almost 20 years ago. And then I was blown away, and it was so cool. And then through that, you and I have talked several times now. I've started the DDPY program. Thank you for introducing me and the rest of the world to that, by the way. The last few weeks I've known a lot about you over the years, but I've, gotten a little bit more over these last few weeks. And I'm just so excited to have you here. And I want to ask you, what was it like when you first met, Matt, myself at that Fuse Fangoria? And again, I know it's almost 20 years ago. What do you remember from that night?
I just remember hooking up with you guys and we had a good time. I just always go with like, what's the people's energy like? And your energy was positive. It wasn't like you guys were a bunch of young kids. It was the beginning of you guys living the dream.
Yes.
And that's what everybody starts. Very few guys that say, I think I'll just play bars. Everybody has that inner dream. Like I know Bon Jovi when he was 15 and didn't, hadn't been taken off yet, hadn't won that contest, that started his whole life, and everything coming together, and then he becomes one of the biggest bands in the world. But everybody who starts as a wrestler or whatever, any entertainer, they dream of of that feeling. Like one of my buddies right now is Teddy Swims, and we have been tight since he was nobody. Back when I met him at Dominique Wilkins' 60th birthday party, and the only reason Dominique had him there playing with a guy and a guitar was because he was watching him on YouTube. And what ended up happening is the guy who was helping him with the party, run it for him, he's like, "Hey Dom, this kid's right here in Conyers, which is Georgia." Okay. He lives in Conyers.
Oh, no.
And that's how he rolled over. And then, do you know who Teddy Swims is?
I know. I've never met him, but I've seen, everyone's seen his name pop up on their Sirius XM while they're driving in the car these days.
Right. And, and it's so cool to watch when you have someone, we were later in the night, after I heard, he came up to me, "Man, is there any way, I'm a huge fan, is there any way you just listen when I play?" I go, "Dude, I'll definitely come back." When I heard him, and I'm not going to say he did Chris Stapleton better than Chris Stapleton, but it was just as good, only a little different. And just a guitar and him and about, 60 people watching him. And, we ended up partying pretty hard later. And I'm the guy who can back down, and I see him just pushing in overdrive. And I'm just like, dude, you got $1 billion voice. But if you continue partying like this, that's not going to do you well. Yeah. And I said, "You should come up and work out with me sometime." And he did, that next week with his manager. His manager never came back again, but Teddy came back for 6 months. And do you know who Paul Walter Hauser is?
Is that the actor?
Richard yes. Jewell.
Yes.
He's the lead in that. He just got the Golden Globe for Blackbird. That's
yes. Yeah, he got it right before I saw him in L.A. at the Forum at the AEW thing. They did a whole spot for him.
Right. Yeah. He loves wrestling like you.
Yes.
And now he is wrestling. He's out there he loves it. Yeah. He's got a long way to go there, but his instincts are spot on.
Wow,
like
cool.
his instincts. And that's the hardest part people have to figure out. Like, he grew up as a fan, and, he's a phenomenal actor. He may be the best actor of that generation. The kids who are around 30 years old, he may be the guy. We'll know in the next few years, but I think he is. And, he's going to be doing, Chris Farley. He's going to be playing Chris Farley in the movie, that'll be coming out, coming.
Are they? Is it like a docu movie?
Well, it'll be like a biopic,
Biopic, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he will play Chris Farley spot on.
I could see that.
And that's another guy, though, that I talked to, like, when him and Teddy were working out together with me, and both of them, like, Paul had already had a pretty damn big push when you do Richard Jewell and you're doing it with Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood's asking for you to be my lead. Paul, I call him Walter, because Walter's a shrewd businessman. He's hungry. He puts the work in. Paul can be a little bit. I had to take two of them and make one strong and one weak. But he's such a great guy and a great human being and a great actor. But both of those guys at the same time were pretty much steady. Wasn't staying with me. Walter stayed with me for I think it was 11 weeks, and he lost 40 pounds, so he could play more. He could play that guy and look more like him physically. And Teddy lost 40 pounds too. And I'm actually going on the road with Teddy for in September for about 5 days, just to be them because he has that potential to really to be where Jelly is right now. Jelly is blown up, humongous. Oh, yeah. He is humongous. But Jelly, another guy, big wrestling fan, but what a sweet, kind individual, and got to know him a little. It's just he's speaking for all the people that got that damaged, that song relating to, God, so many people who were, especially coming out of COVID, that were so damaged, and him just speaking for this generation of, people who are listening to music, and they just he's like a preacher too. It's his songs are so strong, and he just talk about living the dream.
Yeah, motherfucker got a spot in SummerSlam before I did. I've been at this for a lot longer than he has.
Dude, when he did that, singing was one thing. We were talking before he went out there.
In the ring, no less. I don't know how many times you've seen that. You may have seen that more times than I have, but I don't recall seeing a band play from the ring. I don't remember it either, to tell you the truth. But again, it's WrestleMania. It's the biggest show in the world. And it was a Rumble. It was SummerSlam. It was just
SummerSlam. SummerSlam. But anyone, SummerSlam is number 2. Next year there will be 2 SummerSlams, just like
WrestleMania.
Excuse me, just like WrestleMania. Amazing. And you're going to see that thing grow, and then there'll be another one. It'll probably be King of the Ring or the Rumble. The Royal Rumble. I could see that be. I believe there'll be 4. Eventually 2-day extravaganzas. The WWE today really is worldwide entertainment. Oh, yeah. It really is. And I couldn't be any happier, for the guy to be in the middle of it all and being the guy in the front, which is, Cody Rhodes. This is a picture. You can see I got a few pictures on the wall. But this is a picture.
I'm loving that, by the way.
And I got to tell you how it happened. Without this guy right here, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. And that's the one and only American dream, Dusty Rhodes. Oh, yes. And he was my mentor, my brother, my confidant. I could tell him anything. And he was always there to support me and to listen. And because of that, I wanted to give back and mentor Cody for him originally, because what he had done for me. And from 12, 13, by the time he hit 15, I wasn't doing it for Dusty anymore. I was doing it for Cody because I love the kid and I consider him like a nephew, you know, like I really do. And I used to go to all his football, you know, every year I go to this football, you know, and give the whole team a rah-rah inspirational, you know, story. And then one summer, the sophomore year, it's getting about to be fall, kids are going back to school. And I always called him a young buck back then. As crazy as that sounds.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
always. I never called him Cody. I called him Young Buck.
Wow,
always.
okay.
And so I said, so Young Buck, when you start football practice? He said, I'm not going to play this year. I'm like, what? You love football? He goes, yeah, I do, but I don't think I'll ever, you know, take it any farther than high school. And I really think wrestling. I think that. You know, I really want to focus on wrestling because not this year, it's going to be a sophomore. He said, next year, I'm going to be the state champion. And I said, wow, Young Buck, that's a bold statement, man. I said, you know how, you know, you're going to have to do. He's like, put the work in. Damn right. I know what to do. He understood work. And when I say work, I mean getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning before school and going and running and training and all that, and then going to school, and then going to the ring, to the mat, and then training and working and eating right. And like, this is shit he was doing as a sophomore. And his junior year, I was living in LA at the time, and I call him all the time, though, you know, whenever something like this year, that junior year, he was 11-0, and 20-0, and 30-0. And I told him, I said, Young Buck, you get to that state championship finals, I'll be there. He goes, you're going to come back from LA? I said, yeah, I'll be there. And I watched him go 48-0. Now, the best part of this story is the next year, he lost his 12th match. And I called him up, hey, Young Buck, what's up, bro? He's like, Dallas, I lost. I fucking lost. And I said, thank God. Just like that. And he went, what? Why would you say that? I said, Code, do you think you learn anything from winning? You don't. You learn from losing. You learn from falling down. You learn from failure. I said, what did you learn? And we talked about it. But what he would really learn within the months to come, because now he realized every person he went against, like, you know when someone thinks they can beat you and when they don't. And he felt that, and he could tell at some point that these kids aren't trying to, you know, win. They're trying not to get pinned. Like, that's their goal, not to get pinned. Wow. And once he realized that, this is how smart this guy is, especially as a kid. He let him up. And then he'd take him down, and he'd let him up. Like, just get off him. Then take him down, let him up. Wow. Eventually, that guy's blown, and it's a pin. I was there with my daughter, Brittany, for his senior year. He was 46-1, and the kid who beat him was 47-0. And Cody went, Dad, get Dallas down here. Because I was up in the stands. And you could have 5 people, your family members. I think Grandpa had to move so I could sit down there.
Move down the bench, Gramps.
And he ended up eating that kid for lunch. And this is a picture of back when me and Dusty and him, when he won the quadruple A state championship for a second time. So cool. When people ask me, like, what do you think of when he left WWE and went off to do this thing called you know, really just the independent world, not having any idea where he was going and what he was doing, but he knew he had the ability to be not just a top guy, because they have him at the bottom of the middle. Not just be a top guy, but to be the guy.
Yes.
Like, the guy, wow. Like, I went through the whole thing, and And as we all know, if you watch that documentary about The Rock coming in, and The Rock, you know, he elevated everyone.
Yes.
He's the biggest star in the world. And there was I heard, I'm not going to mention names, but I heard there was some young guys there that were like, oh, The Rock's coming in after we did all this, blah, blah, blah. Hey, dude, The Rock's coming in. He's the biggest fucking star in the world.
Well, not only that, Dallas, it's also the fact that, like, I don't mean to cut you off there, but like, it's also the fact that you may have created all this in the near future. Remember what he did for the business and what he's continued to do for the business. It's not like this is somebody coming in out of nowhere. This is somebody who's put in the time in the business and put the business and taken it to another level.
But I think some of the guys
people have.
But I think some of the guys didn't realize, like again, you're dealing with this is if he comes in, and kudos to him, big time, because if The Rock wanted to freaking wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania,
that was going to happen.
That was going to happen,
yep.
And that's where I was there for Cody, and I would just say to him, and he did not want to hear it. I did an interview with him on YouTube about 6 weeks after, because I took off to Bora Bora literally the next day after WrestleMania to take my wife for her 50th birthday. So I didn't really even talk to him for 6 weeks until he came to my house and we worked out and we shot an interview.
Yeah,
and didn't get a chance to really talk to him about all the shit that unwinded. But The Rock, he saw it. And the one thing that he said and he mentioned this in interviews that he did, I would say to him when we were on his bus, listen, I know this doesn't look like it's what you want, but I promise you, if you just keep deep breathing, no matter how bleak it works, the breathing will help to relieve some of the anxiety. But I promise you, if you just keep breathing and keep moving forward and keep a positive attitude, I promise you, it's going to be the best thing to happen to you. Whatever happens, it's going to be the best thing to happen to you. And he thought I was fucking, I know inside is Rock going to really come in here and take this from me? And that's where the fans have had their strongest effect.
Oh, yeah.
Where they friggin' like, hey, we just spent 2 years of this and you're telling us you're coming in? We want Cody. Like, no, we want him. And Rock is more, he's as big a star as he is, that's how big a fan he is. Like, he literally sent me a message, a video. He left me messages on my Instagram, because you can leave voice messages on people's Instagram if you're following each other. And it was beautiful, man. And he talked about what I was doing with Butterbean and how proud he was of me. But he also talked about what I don't know if you saw the video. It was up on my Instagram and on my Facebook. I talked about how after that slap, I was in Jamaica when that happened. As Rock calls the slap heard around the world, which it was.
Oh, yeah.
I had to react to that. And what I came out of it was that what's happening right now with Roman and the bloodline, the whole bloodline thing, which I love with Sami Zayn was involved in all that shit.
That was amazing.
Which elevated him to a whole different level. And I knew it would, because he just got such work ethic. And Eric Bischoff said that, his ride reminds him of mine. And how the fans are the one who got behind me. Like, that's when it's the best. But I loved the shit that Sammy was doing with, with Jay and Jimmy and Paul Heyman who's
so
better?
good.
Who's
one.
better than Paul Heyman?
Nobody,
I mean,
dude.
really. Like me and Dusty
Probably
used to
dangerous.
say, yeah. Well, me and Dusty used to say that Vince is the greatest heel ever. Really, probably one of the greatest characters when he was younger. And when I mean younger, like 10 years ago, through our time, like we would talk about it. But I'll tell you what, I think the greatest character in professional wrestling right now is Paul Heyman. I mean, and I'm going to predict something. This is totally off the wall, but I'm going to predict something. Paul Heyman gets fired and starts his own, can't call it ECW anymore, but whatever the hell the name of it is, and he goes in opposition.
Are you talking shoot right now? You're not talking.
No,
I'm not saying you know.
Shoot.
I'm not saying
no,
you know.
I don't know anything, dude.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a booker.
Right,
I can.
You're doing what we're all doing. We're fantasy booking here.
No, dude, everything that you saw happen in my career up till me and Savage, everything that got me to where Randy Savage wanted to work with me. And when he saw the reaction, just like The Rock did, when he saw the reaction with Cody, he's like, hey, Roman and him got to wrestle. And he's got to go over. Like, you've got a baby face that universally people love. And I got to say this, Charles Barkley, there's always the big discussion. Who's the best, LeBron or Jordan? All right. Charles Barkley will say that Michael Jordan is the greatest. He's the GOAT. But when you take LeBron, and LeBron's playing at 40, like a kid wishes he could play at 20.
It's fucking ridiculous.
And forget the playing, Charles said, that this guy has never gotten in trouble.
Huge.
Humongous. Cody Rhodes?
Never got in trouble.
Never got in trouble. Like, and you never will. You'll never see him cheat on his wife. You'll never hear that they're ever getting divorced. I can't imagine, because they love each other and they are such a strong. Their little daughter Liberty. Oh my God! I mean, they like at some point you might see somewhere down the line you might see him doing stuff outside of wrestling that very few people can do, and then when they go to throw dirt on you, you're not going to find any. No. You're really not going to. You have maybe some people irritated with him, but bottom line is he lives he walks the talk, and that's the thing I love the most about him. Like, I was into the crowd. I was the original People's Champion is Ali. The next one is Dusty Rhodes. The next one is Diamond Dallas Page. The next one is The Rock.
Right.
And then this one is Cody. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to claim he's the People's Champion, but he is. Mm-hmm. And as long as they, stay with him, he will take this ride and do some amazing things with it. And it's really interesting to watch how they're booking him. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And, I'm just super proud of him. And, the fact that this guy, and I've been watching him do it since he was in the independent scene, and it started with All In, where I really actually saw it. Like, after All In was over, I don't know if you remember, but he went out there and thanked him. Nobody left. Like, nobody left. There was 11,000 people there, and no one left. And Cody came back out, like he felt it. And then he had everybody else come out. And he said some shit that should have made WWE go, fuck you, you're never coming back. But they didn't. They went after him and wanted him to come in. Yeah. And because of the booking of Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, man, I love that the guy who is calling the shots in creative And he's got a great team around him as well. Michael P.S. Hayes being one of them, been there for 30 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys know wrestling, you know? So it's a new generation. Like some people go, oh man, when you guys were doing it, it was real. This new shit. I'm like, hey, this new shit's amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, there's two kind of matches that go on. You know, one is what I call video games. And this is what everybody, you know, grew up with. So a super kick into a Canadian destroyer, into a suplex, into a, you know, a friggin' diamond cutter, or just call it a cutter because everybody calls it I love that
it's a Cody cutter now. It's a Cody cutter.
Yeah. And whenever we're watching a match, whenever that happens, he'll look at me and go, thank you. And then
I love that. I love that.
I swear to God. It's fun to watch, you know, because everybody puts their little name in front of the cutter.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I love Randy Orton, and I love the fact that he took it to a different level. He did versions of the shit that I could never do, that he did, and it was I think Randy Orton is the how to say this? The most underrated mega superstar of all time. I mean, and I don't mean to put mega superstar because that's what's his name's gimmick. LA Knight. I love LA Knight.
Oh, LA Knight's so good, dude. When I saw him come on, I hadn't heard anything about him. I just got to give a praise real quick just to say, like, I'm watching Monday Night Raw, watching SmackDown, and I see this guy. Hadn't seen him wrestle before. I was a little out of the loop. But I saw him on the mic before I saw him wrestle, and I was like, "This guy's a star." I've been watching wrestling my whole life, and I saw that guy on the mic, and I was all, "That guy's a star." Next thing I knew, he was going to be headlining the Elimination Chamber a few months ago. So it was like, it's
amazing.
Incredible.
And that's why I don't want to say megastar when I say Randy, because that's his gimmick. And that someone hasn't called themselves a megastar, like that there's even a name that someone hasn't used yet.
Impossible, you know, right? Impossible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to say, because Randy is so proven that, first of all, he looks unbelievable, and he's healthy as hell. And that surgery, I guess, really worked well for him, that he had and healed up. And I mean, he knows. I'm a huge mark for him as far as, to me, he has everything from the look, the size, the talk, the work, the aggressiveness, the intenseness. I mean, like I say, he's the most underrated superstar of all time. I mean, Randy Orton very well could be on friggin' Mount Rushmore, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, that's high praise.
If you want to take great workers who had a great look, who had a great gimmick, who had a great finish, I mean, tell me who's better than Randy. You know, and now he's who knows how long he'll go. He really is, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, real quick, let's go back to your hot take though. You think Paul's going to? I'm booking. I'm booking on my own here. Okay.
You know, and who knows? You know, I could just see something like. Because the way he said the stuff that he said at his Hall of Fame speech, wow, that was an amazing, and only at that time could that guy in Philadelphia become that headliner and, you know, get away with what he can get away with. You know, because he is the amazing one and only Paul Heyman. You know? And I'm a big Heyman fan because when he left, I sent AWA a videotape of me with three guys. One was named Big Bad John. Another was named Rock Hard Rick, which is a great name. I can't believe no one's used it yet.
Well, Rock Hard Juice Robinson took that now. We got Rock Hard Juice Robinson over to AEW.
But is it Rock Hard Rick or is it Rock Hard Juice Robinson?
It's Rock Hard Juice Robinson. I apologize.
Okay, Rock Hard Rick.
Rick. Okay, Triple R. Triple R. Okay,
Yeah,
get it. It's not even Triple R. No, sorry.
It's just freaking. Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
Your mind can go many places with that name.
I didn't even catch it, dude. I don't know how I didn't catch that, but I'm usually on with those kind of jokes too.
So, Rock Hard Rick and I had a midget named Ted E. Bear, and he came out with the Diamond Dolls, and I sent this tape to the AWA. And 2 weeks later, they called me back, and they're like, hello, is Diamond Dolls page there? And no one has ever called me that. I made it up in my nightclub about a month before. And the Diamond Exchange, the Diamond Dolls, it didn't exist anywhere but in my head. So I took bouncers who worked for me and made them these characters, sent the tape to the AWA, and this guy, Rob Russin, called me up. He's like, hello, it's Diamond Dolls Pager. This is Rob Russin from the AWA. Oh, wow. I'm like, I heard this reverend say one time, the quickest way to get there is to act like you've already been there. And I just fell into it. I went, yeah, hey, Rob, this is DDP. Never called myself DDP ever before that. and I said, what's up? He said, well, we've seen your tape and we like it. I want to bring you and your guys into Vegas for a tryout. But we've got one question. We've shown the tape around. Everybody likes your shtick, but no one's ever heard of you. Where are you working at? Well, Rob, the truth is none of those guys can wrestle. What? Why would you send us a tape? I said, because it's like a secret society. No one can figure out how to get in. And he's like, don't call us, we'll call you. Yeah. And Paul E. Dangerously, about a week or so later, left the AWA, went to the NWA, which is about to become WCW.
Yes.
And it left a huge void for a young guy that could talk. Greg Gagne called me up about a week after that and said, all right, Diamond, we're going to give you an opportunity here. We got some people that need some manager, and we want a fresh face and want to bring you in, and we're going to give you an opportunity. And that's how I got on ESPN with the AWA.
And how you got on with Eric Bischoff, your friend. You're doing color commentary with him, right?
Well, we did color commentating in
WCW. Was that by WCW or NWA?
Yeah, WCW.
That's right.
And I'll give you the Eric Bischoff story. It goes like this. I was doing a Diamond Doll search in somewhere in Wisconsin where the men are men and so are the women. And I mean, I'm coming from Fort Myers, Florida, spring
running
break
nightclubs,
and
running
nightclubs where women are smoking hot during spring break and they're wearing next to nothing, so this is not what I expected. So I got really drunk that night and I went to Pat Tanaka. I was just like, Pat, let's get the fuck out of here. I want to get something to eat, man. And he was talking to Bischoff, and Bischoff, he was freaking pretty looped, and he threw right back at me, like got in my face. I'm like, hey, motherfucker. Next thing you know, it's a pull-apart fight. And then, did you hear about this? Did I tell you the story?
No. Please continue. I heard about this from Eric on his podcast, 83 Weeks. He tells his side of the story.
Let's see, because there's my story, there's his story, and there's the real story. Yeah, but this is what I remember, and I remember getting him up the elevator. We went to get something to eat. So by now I'm sober, and when we get off the elevator, he gets off the elevator right across from us, and next thing you know, Pat and Paul are like, go to your room, bro. I got a picture of Pat and Paul. This is my very first day in the AWA. And the only reason I know that's my first day because the Diamond Doll that's behind Paul Diamond. And her name is Leanne, and she only did it once with me, and she was the first one. And they just took George Napolitano and Bill Apter took so many pictures of us because no one ever seen me. I looked like I was going to WWE, but as a manager, 6'4", 215, 220, I was done, because once they saw how tall I really was, it was like, nah, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
But back to Bish. So Bish starts in on me again. And I didn't know how to breathe back then. So, Pat and Paul had to really like push me to my room, and I waited until he walked in his room because we're on the same floor. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up in the morning. We're going to see how bad this motherfucker is now. And as I'm walking to the door, it's like 8 in the morning. I got an 11 o'clock flight or something like that. So I got time. And I want to go down there and at least get in his face, And when I walk into the door, I hear, and I think it's a damn maid. I open the door and it's him. And back then his hair was longer than his shoulder. It would pass his shoulder. And he had been silver hair since he was 22, he told me. And he's got a leather coat on, like a biker leather coat. And Bish is like, I don't know, third-degree black belt. So he's been in a billion fights and doesn't give a fuck who you are. He's one of those guys, And and when I open the door, there he is. And he says, I heard I was a real asshole last night. And I said, yeah, you were. As a matter of fact, I was on my way to see you right now. And this is Bischoff. I saved you the walk. There's two ways we can handle this. One, you accept my apology and shake my hand. Two, and he pulled his 3 teeth. He had like a bridge in, pulled his 3 teeth out, and he said, or punch me in the mouth. Whatever you're good with, I'm good with. And I popped. I thought it was funny as fuck because I've been running clubs. I've been working as a bouncer to a bar back, to a bartender, to an assistant manager, to a general manager. I've worked every spot that you can work in a club. And I don't care if I was bartending. If there was a fight, I was jumping over the bar to break it up, So I've seen it all. And especially at GM spot for years, you got to come through me to get back in. And I've heard every excuse you could ever hear for a drunken escapade, but I never heard that.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, I'd much rather shake your hand. And then later what would happen, he came into WCW to try out. And Dusty had asked me if I ever heard of Eric Bischoff. I said, that name sounds familiar, but I can't place the face. And he was really late because of weather coming in for the tryout. And I had to get down to TV in Columbus, Georgia, which is about 90 minutes from Atlanta. And I was like, when he walked in the door, I was used to the guy with the hair down to here and silver and, like a biker dude. And here comes this guy who looks like a fucking model and a Ken doll. But I recognized this, his eyes, his face. He was over with me. He didn't think he was, because in our business, when someone fucks you around, when you get a chance to fuck them back, most times they do. All right. I don't, because that's not who I am. And I'm not going to change who I am because of the way other people act. That's just not who I am. But he was over with me. But I didn't get a chance even to talk about it or talk about last time I saw you, blah, blah, blah. None of that, because we don't have time. So we get in the booth, and Dusty said, if you like him, help him. If you don't, let him just bury himself. So Dream says, make sure he does play-by-play. You do colors, of course. So we start, and we get done. It's like a 6-minute match, And I said, let's try it again. I looked at him, I go, how bad do you need this job? And he said, bad. My wife's pregnant with her second child. I shit the bed in New York. Vince is never going to give me a job. And I really need a job. I said, okay. Dusty said, make sure you do play-by-play. I'll do the color. Let's start again. We got a minute into it. And I said, stop the tape. I said, you don't know how to do play-by-play, do you? And he said, well, that's not how we did it. And they didn't. They talked about the match. And it was like 2 color commentators talking. And I said, well, here, they want you to do play-by-play. So here's what we're going to do. Play the tape. And I called it like a minute in what to do. Collar and elbow lock up. Pull him in a headlock. I gave him the series. Then when the heel powders out, I'll go, now that's a smart move. We're going to reset the brain. We're going to start all over. I'll lay color for that. So first time, second time, we got a little more. Third time, get a little more. But on the fifth time, I'm like, I think he's got it. Let's lay it down. And he goes, hold on a second. He goes, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He goes, do you remember me? I said, yeah, you're the guy I almost got in a fight with in the AWA. He goes, just checking. And like he didn't expect that, you know?
Yeah.
And man, to me, Eric's one of the straightest shooters that you'll ever find in entertainment. You know, because most people, as you know, being an entertainer yourself,
yeah,
a lot of people are.
You run into some of them, and you just like in life, though, everyone at home can relate to it as well. Just like in life, you surround yourself with the people that you're like-minded with, and you'll be fine.
100%. There was I don't know if it came up on my I'll just go with this on my iPad. I saved it because I thought it was cool, and it said, "Shout out to people whose kindness isn't a strategy, but a way of life."
Ooh, I love that. That's great. That is great, dude. I'm not a big guy on adages. I mean, they do. I mean, as I get older, I guess I am more so because I find that they end up being very true. But like something like that, you hear that's profound and good. I like it.
Wow.
I like it.
I live a lot, especially out in LA, you know.
You did live in LA a while.
I did for a decade, and I hated it. I hated it because I hated the weather tax and just the whole thing, you know.
I don't care for LA, but I'm in Orange County, so we get a little away.
Orange County's much nicer though.
You've been here.
A whole area.
Yeah, real quick. Let's get back to Eric in a second, because I had a conversation with Eric about this too. And real quick, I love that story. I will say, very similar. Couple different details there, but very similar story. So that's, and it's interesting that like I saw a little bit of similarities in the way that you and I met each other. It's like with that separation of years, and be like, hey, do you remember me? And it's like, oh yeah, I do. You're right here on my phone. So it was a little funny little tidbit I took from that story right there. Yes. So, yes.
By the way, Johnny, when my wife comes down here and tells me I got to go. So
okay.
You better line it up.
All right. No, totally. No. So I really appreciate the time. I hope we can do this again and get a little bit deeper into some stuff, a little bit longer form. You got a lot going on today. So I just want to bring it back to a little bit of wrestling and DDPY, sure. And then we'll put a bow on this. One of the things I listened back to before having you on was your time on the Joe Rogan podcast. And you were talking. One of the things I wanted to ask about that is, you covered everything right on that podcast. People go back of where you came from, everything. Right. And I know from a little bit of the documentaries and stuff, you struggled with dyslexia and reading. I had a question in DDP with that. I'm sure you've had all the other stuff of DDPY with that. You're doing everything backwards for people at home. Have you ever thought about that actually helped you out in the long run?
I think that being able to overcome the reading thing, I'm still not a great reader, but I'm pretty good now for me, really good. It's again, like that was one of the hardest things ever, learning how to read in your 30s. And it didn't really click until I got to LA, which is one of the positive things about LA. When I was 46, when I moved there, when I was 48, I got in a surfing accident with a guy who would become a buddy of mine named Bill. And we had lunch and we started talking. Turns out we were both dyslexic. He's like, "Oh, dude, you have to go to the Eris Learning Center in Culver City. There's this woman named Rose. When I was there, she was 80. I don't know if she'll still be there, but ask for her." And she was still there. Rose was still there. She was 85. And the way they do things to turn your brain and train your brain, like, I don't know why every school on the planet doesn't do the same teaching method, because many, many, many kids have issues with reading, especially with ADD, ADHD, all of that, being able to focus, and for me, all that shit really worked for me later, because when you can't read, you figure out a way to get around shit. And you put yourself with people who are smarter than you, when it comes to book smart. Not many people are that smarter than me when it comes to street smart, but when it comes to book smart, both my first wife and my third wife, who's the keeper I'll always be with, and my first wife is now the COO of my company, and I just brought her in the last year because she's one of the smartest women you'll ever meet, and as people, period. But her and Paige are so much alike on some things and completely different on others. But they're both super smart. Like, MBAs she got one from Northwestern. Kimberly and Paige got one from when she was out there. I forget what school she was at in LA. But surrounding yourself with people who what you don't do, they do like at a different level. And that was a big thing. Like, I'm not a big Henry Ford fan, only because of, some of his politics, but, some of the shit he did was pretty amazing. And one of the things I remember reading that he had, sued a paper, like back when a paper meant everything. If a paper said something about you, it was real. Not today. Not to emulate Trump, but fake news is everywhere, and AI hasn't even started yet.
No, you're very
right. Where it's going to be. It's going to be a scary place to be at this point. But they had said that he was ignorant in a paper, so Ford sued him for like $1 million, when $1 million would be $1 billion.
Yeah, wow.
And one of the things he did was when he was up on the stand, he said, these people say that I'm ignorant, yet I have a phone that's got 6 buttons on it. And if I need to know something about hydraulics, I push button number 1. If I need to know something about this or that, whatever the things were he said that had to do with building cars and everything, basically he had that person at his disposal.
Yeah.
So who's smarter than that? You know what I mean?
Not many.
And he ended up winning the lawsuit. I'm sure back then they had to pay because the paper wasn't going to go down. Not yet.
It wasn't 2024 yet.
Right.
The last thing I wanted to talk to you about was a movie that I grew up watching, and I don't know if it was your first movie ever or what, but Ready to Rumble with David Arquette. This is WCW at the height of Nitro. I'm a fan watching back and forth between Nitro and Raw. At that point, I'm definitely heavy on the Nitro. And I'm watching this movie. I love this movie. I just rewatched it 2 nights ago in preparations for this. I was like, I haven't seen the movie in fucking forever. It's hilarious. It stands up. I loved it. Great movie. If anyone wants to go check it out, you can see Diamond Dallas Page acting in this movie with a bunch of other of the great WCW roster. And that's where I wanted to go with that question, was basically, was it your first movie ever? And what was the set like? Because, let me ask this about it. You got all these actors. You got, let's call them Hollywood, not Hogan, but we got Hollywood over here, and all of these wrestlers. Right. And you guys are on the set together. What was like? I mean, you guys are. I know that David Arquette's a huge wrestling fan. I don't know about anybody else.
And what a great guy! And he's a really great guy too. We've become really good friends, and our friendship's only continued to grow since then. But that wasn't my first movie. My first movie was a movie I did with Jason Hervey. Did it? He was producing it for, that's who did Wonder Years, was Wayne back in the day.
Yeah.
Him and Bischoff would do a ton of, they had 7 shows on TV at one time.
That's who Eric has been talking about on 83 Weeks, but he says his partner, I didn't know it was going to play Wayne in Wonder Years. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And, he's the one who got me my first role, and it was because he was producing this movie for TBS, which ended up being like the #1 rated movie on cable for a while there, and I had a really great spot in that. And I did a couple other things, but that that role originally, I remember Eric, and I don't know if he remembers this, but I remember him telling me, I just got off the phone with Warner Brothers. There's a spot in there for you. And the guy's name is Jimmy King. Like, he was talking, and so I'm sure he, at the time, thought I was going to be in that spot, but they wanted what's called a real actor. But for that spot, for that movie, you didn't need that. Even though I thought that, Oliver Platt, who I'm a big fan of his work, I thought he did a really good job, especially the way he played the character and everything. And the things that stand out from that, for starters, there's one cinema that's original cinema that's here in Atlanta, and Art Cinema, I think it's called. That holds about 350 people, and we did a Ready to Rumble showing. And man, the place was packed. Everybody popping on all the shit they already know is coming, but they're still laughing so hard. There's a lot of fun potty humor in that. Now, I will leave you with this. I didn't like the ending. I thought there was a better ending. So I can't remember Jeff's last name, but he's the executive producer of the film. And he gets with the director, who would become a huge director. God, I can't remember his name right now. But Robbins, I can't remember his name right now. But either way, he gets me in front of 6 top Warner Brothers people because he liked it. I said, here's how you end this movie. I'm walking up the ramp. I'm being carried up. And I look back and the blood's coming down my face. And they help me get it back. Now they're playing the credits. And you've got this running, how they'll do that thing. They keep playing the movie even though all the credits are coming up. And now you see Jimmy King, go up the ramp and turn to the right. And then you see me laying up against the wall by myself. And you see Jimmy and you see me. And as he starts walking towards me, I square off with him. And right as we're about to get right up close, we hug each other. Dude. Oh, God, they so bought it. Oh, that was so beautiful. Boy, you caught me with that right, motherfucker. Blah, 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 blah. And now you see Khan and Arquette looking around the corner, and they go, no! And we look up and see him, and we start walking towards him, and I grab David, and he grabs Scotty Khan, and we go, welcome to the business, boys. Let's go have a beer. And friggin', we walk off into the sunset together.
Oh,
that would have pulled everything the way it should have been, and it wouldn't have hurt the story because it's shit that came afterwards. Because everybody knows it's a work. What are you trying to protect?
Yeah.
Like why? And the guy Jeff, can't remember his last name, like I said, but he called me up afterwards. He said, "We should have used your finish." Yeah. I said, "Hey, it was there. It was ripe for the taking, and you guys didn't, but that's okay." But it'll make a great story for me to tell.
Absolutely. I'm glad I have that story now. The next time I watch that, I can be like, yeah, man, that would have been a way to end it. Bring it all in. Because they would have brought everybody. And they move it around a little bit. They play with it a little bit throughout the movie. Yeah. So that I like that.
It's funny because, Cena's in that movie for a second when Goldberg is in the gym.
Oh,
Cena's
yeah. I didn't notice that. I just watched it 2 nights ago. I didn't notice him in there.
Yeah, it's a flash of him. But
that makes sense because, can't see him. So amazing having you here, man. I really appreciate the time. We'll do this again. We'll get more into some of your career. I appreciate it. Go have the rest of your day. I'll be continuing with the DDPY, showing everybody my progress. It's an amazing thing. Everybody go check it out. The app is amazing. I want to get into that too. But again, thank you so much for being here, Dallas. Again, so rad to have a conversation with you. Everybody, thanks.
Just finishing, baby.
We'll see you next time, as always. Cheers.
See you, bro. Bang.